Humans are subjected to meet with different types of situations in their lifetime, including both joyous and unhappy moments. No one knows what strange things are waiting for us in our future, but we make sure that we do not cultivate any immoral things so that we can only reap what we sow. Some people face horrible situations which they must have never thought of. They may suffer a lot from such situations where their loved ones leave them behind or will live a miserable life. A type of people who face such dreadful situations daily are soldiers. They face deaths, wound, and parting ways so often. Ordinary people might say that as soldiers work with bombs and fire all the time, their hearts must be like stones. But that is not true. They risk their lives in battlefields for us so that we can live a peaceful life. Therefore, soldiers' hearts must be the biggest and purest hearts from all people around the world. Today, we've brought you a heartening story how a judge comforts a soldier who went through a hard time after a shocking and miserable accident. Before starting, make sure you've subscribed to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with our latest updates. Joe was a passionate and humble Green Beret soldier who gained 3 purple stars for his bravery in the battlefield. He was a healthy and happy person who was loved and trusted by a lot of his colleagues. Joe spent a cheerful life until one day he met with a melancholy situation that he did not expect at all. In 2008, Joe and 3 of his friends were stuck inside a huge armored truck, which had heavy doors which could not be opened easily with bare hands. Those doors were only opened with the help of a hydraulic system. The vehicle was moving forward in a dirt track beside a long canal. They could not control the vehicle anymore as the dirt road they were driving down disappeared and there wasn't a path anymore. Suddenly, they saw the land was ending and they were about to fall into the canal. Not a second passed after seeing the situation, the truck rolled down the bank and fell straight into the water. The water started rising up little by little, and the soldiers were trying to get out of the vehicle. Joe was stuck with his seatbelt, and one of his colleagues had to help yank him up so that he could get free from the seatbelt. Even though they removed their seatbelts, they did not find a way to get themselves out of the vehicle as the fall from the road to the canal had damaged the hydraulic system of the vehicle. It was pitch black inside the vehicle, and they could not see the water rising up, but they felt it as the water touched their body, from waist to neck. Soon the water touched Joe's chin, and he felt as if he was about to die in a few seconds. While struggling to survive, Joe heard a gurgling sound and saw that the gas tanks that they carried in the vehicle had crushed up during the fall, and are now releasing gas bubbles which pocketed up with the water bubbles. These gas bubbles helped Joe to breathe, but soon he felt dizzy and passed out. Time passed, and he felt someone dragged him by his collar out of the water, but he was so unconscious that he could not remember what was happening to him. His team found out that the armored truck had met with an accident and they had come to the rescue. Joe was quickly helped to shore and was given first aid on the shore itself. That was when Joe saw something which haunted him forever. He saw all his friends who went in the truck with him lying dead in the side of him. He was shocked to see that he was the only one who survived from that traumatic accident. He not only lost his teammates, they were his best friends who accompanied him during ups and downs. He could not forget what happened. How could it possibly end like this? He questioned every time. This accident haunted him every single day. Time passed, and he was on his retirement day. He retired as a brave and a trustworthy soldier who served in the battlefields risking his life. But the accident which took place over years still haunted him. He could not let that memory pass out so easily. He'd suffered numbers of flashbacks, and he woke up from sleep at late night by dreaming of the accident. His mental health became unstable. His anxiety grew more and more, making him suffer a lot. Many people, including his family and friends, wanted to talk with him about the problems that he was facing, but could not make up his mind to bring back all the stories from the past and recall them to others. He had no other choice other than getting himself drunk, so that at least for a few hours, he would not get that guilty feeling. Both his physical and mental health became worse as he became addicted to alcohol. He once had said that he did not like to drink, but he had gone out because of the anger and hurt he was feeling. He spent most of his time in bars alone, and one day he was found driving intoxicated. He was fined for this deed, and he was sent back. Joe drank all alone by himself so that no one could drive him home. Therefore, he was caught by the police many times. But he could not put an end to this drinking habit. He was sent for probation many times and had to submit urine tests to prove that he was not sober. These tests and going in front of the judge also became a habit of Joe's. Once he got drunk and was caught by the police, he was asked to submit a urine test to check if he was sober. But he did something unlawful. He faked his urine test in front of the judge and the court. 2 weeks later, he admitted that he faked the urine test and he apologized to the judge for faking the test in the court. But that simple apology could not be counted in front of the crime of misleading the court. So, Lo Oliveira, the judge who handled his case, sentenced that Joe is punishable for his deeds and will be imprisoned for a night at the jail. Many people, including Joe, was astonished to hear the judgment, but as it was the final decision, they all had to agree with the judge. Joe was later taken to the jail where he was prisoned in a cell with no one else. The atmosphere in the cells was making Joe go wild. He could not stop thinking about the accident which took place years ago. The darkness in the cell slowly crept inside Joe's heart as he felt like he was all alone and will be alone in the future. He thought that he will never get out of this traumatic situation. The tense in his heart grew more and more, and he felt like the walls were caving in and making his stress level rise up. He went near the doors of the prison, where he found that these doors are the same as the armored truck's doors that day. He felt like he was drowning all over again. His memories took him back to that day. The water was up to his chin. He could smell the leaking gas, and he felt unconscious. He sat down and covered his face with his hands and thought if he was going somewhere else without coldness and darkness. His whole body started to sweat and shiver where he could not even move his fingers. He felt like he was stuck inside something which had no doors. He felt like no one will ever show up and save him from this misery. He heard the doors in his dream rattled and opened up. When he opened his eyes, he saw a person smiling at him. That person was no other than Lo Oliveira, the same judge that sentenced Joe to be imprisoned for a night. He smiled at Joe, and that smile made him so much relieved that he also smiled back at him easily. The judge came nearer to Joe and stood beside him with a tray of food. Joe felt at ease and had a good feeling about the judge. Lo said, "Scoot over," making Joe shocked. Actually, Lo Oliveira was a retired army veteran who served his country. It just took seconds for him to understand the situation at which Joe was struggling at. So he thought of a plan during the judgment, and he worked to his instincts. He made him recall his past memories inside that dark cell for one last time, which will help him to forget it forever in the future. Joe, by hearing the friendly judge's words, took the tray from his hands and asked Lo, "What's up? You bringing me food now, Judge?" The judge answered him, "No, I'm here to stay with you and spend the night until tomorrow." Joe was surprised to hear that and asked the judge whether he was joking, where the judge said that it was true and he was there to spend the night in the cell. Lo said to the reporters later that he saw what was happening with Joe at the beginning and wanted to help him so much that he made this decision. He told his wife that he was spending the night in the prison and said not to worry about him. Lo's presence in the jail made Joe super happy, that he felt like he was no longer lonely. He felt like he had been saved by somebody before he fell off this time. Joe later had said, "I'm overwhelmed. I really wanted to thank him for being by my side in that cold cell." Sitting side by side on the bed, both the judge and the prisoner talked for many hours. They talked about their families, their jobs, politics, war, and many more. As they both felt sleepy, the judge took his mat, laid it on the floor, and was about to fall asleep, where Joe did not completely agree with this idea. He said to the judge, "Judge, please sleep on the bunk bed at least. Let me sleep on the floor. You've done so much for me." But Lo insisted on sleeping on the floor, and after spending some more time chatting, both of them decided to get some sleep. Lo was not here to sleep. He wanted to check on Joe, so he watched over him to see if there was any change. Lo recognized that Joe was breathing heavily and snoring, which meant that he was having a sound sleep with no tension at all. Lo was happy to see Joe with much changes within himself. The next morning, Joe was released and Lo took him home. He did not meet with any PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorders, in the passing days. He said to the reporters that he was feeling uneasy to trust people, even the family members were not trusted by him. The horrible accident which took place over the years made Joe suffer a lot with PTSD, and with the help of the kind judge, Lo Oliveira, Joe could forget the past and build trust again in people. Just his presence himself changed my mindset, Joe said to the reporters about Lo. So, that's the end of today's video, where we brought you a heart-touching story of a soldier who met up with a miserable accident and had to face many hardships to overcome his stress disorders with the help of a kind-hearted court judge. Thank you for watching, and before going, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to be notified with our latest updates. See you in our next video.